everyone, and welcome back to VivaTech 15, your weekly show to catch up on outstanding innovations and latest tech news from all around the world. We are in VivaTech's kitchen, so grab yourself a tea or a coffee and let's talk about financial inclusion. But before we jump into it, so if you're having a good time watching us, subscribe to our channel, like, share, and tell us your thoughts in the comment section below. Now, as you know, VivaTech is home to a lot of ecosystem partners, and we welcome all of them. Recently, during a discussion with our friends from Seed Stars, a global organization with a mission to impact people's lives in emerging markets through technology and entrepreneurship, they actually told us about a superwoman trying to change the lives of millions of women in Pakistan. So we were curious to know more about her, so they've put us in touch. Her name is Farwah Tapal. She is the co-founder and chief operating officer of Oraan, the first Pakistani women-led and women-first fintech startup which creates alternative financial solutions for women. And she's with us today. But before we welcome Farwah, it's time for the Insider. Here are a few facts about fintech in Pakistan that you probably never heard before. 5% of the world's women live in Pakistan, yes, but only 7% of these Pakistani women are financially included. But encouraging news, bank account usage by women in Pakistan has grown from 4% in 2008 to 18% in 2020. In Pakistan, only 16% of the adult population have a bank account, which is not so much. To put this into perspective, that's roughly 35 million people out of a total population of 220 million. 55% of Pakistanis are savers and 41% use rotating savings and credit associations. Well, I've also done some research about Oraan. Oraan communities are nearly 2 million people, majority of whom are women. While Oraan is the first female-led fintech startup, it's not women only, since 20% of its members are men, of course. 51% of Oraan's employees are females, which means parity is reached. Well, it's now time to welcome Farwah in the Kitchen Talk. Hello, Farwah. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to our kitchen.
Hi, very nice to meet you and to be on this on Kitchen Talks.
Right. So, where are you joining us from?
Karachi, Pakistan.
Oh wow! Right. So that's quite far away from where we are, but very happy to connect. So let's start talking about Oraan, Farwah. So how did you come up with this idea?
Oraan started as just a simple idea. How do you, moving back, face a lot of problems in just opening up bank accounts, especially as a woman in Pakistan. I'd lived here most of my life, but, coming back as an adult after studying abroad, face a lot of problems. And at the same time, just like looking around, the savings to GDP ratio one was really low, 8.6%. And on the other hand, when you see the informal sector and you're like, okay, things are moving, things are working, what is happening and where can we find that opportunity? And we started realizing that women have a tough time with finances. They just don't have access in Pakistan. Even though, and on the other hand, they use a really informal system called committees locally. Around the world, official term for them are rotated savings and credit associations. And around the world, they're used in most underdeveloped nations, from Bangladesh to Latin America to Africa. And as we started, my mom does it. Everybody I know around me does it. 41% of our population takes part in it. And as we started discovering this, we realized this is the way to empower women to financially be stable and understand. Because as soon as you're able to empower that woman, you're able to, help her change her own life and her family's life.
Right.
And part of that is being able to get access to money, but also be able to save. And that's what Oraan is about.
This is great to hear, Farwah. It's a shame that we're still talking about this topic nowadays. So why is it still tough for women to access financial services?
I think it's a problem across the world. And in Pakistan, financial access alone, is difficult. We have a generally a 14% financial inclusion, and under about 7% have women have bank accounts, formal bank accounts. And the reason being, that one, people just, across time thinking about how women operate, how they use money, how they think about money has been really has been thought from a man's perspective, right?
Mm-hmm.
Second, a lot of women have, especially in Pakistan, things like, hey, you're working, but you have kids. You just
Right.
don't have time to go to a bank and take out or put in money, little things like that. Or,
Mm-hmm.
hey, what kind of documents are you asking? A person
Mm-hmm.
over in Pakistan, having a male counterpart is really important. Like I couldn't open up a bank account either without my mom, my father, or a husband or somebody being like, hey, there is a person next to her who will be able to support her.
Mm-hmm.
Little things that are slightly are more social, and then are more legal as well, right? That make it
Right.
difficult. These norms become a huge barrier, and logistical and social barriers.
Mm. And when we know that women most of the time are the one managing the budgets in the household, so this is really a paradox.
Absolutely. The biggest thing we discovered is that, we call them women are budget ministers of their house. They're the ones who make sure that the kids have the kids are going to school, they're being educated, they're saving up enough for little treats in life, right? Or their futures, even a travel trip, or even just a little, okay, somebody's birthday, little things, right? Or hey, I need a fridge, basic appliances in life. Women think about it and plan ahead, whereas men are thinking of the really large ticket items, and they're like, okay, that's it, that's my job done. At least in Pakistan, that's how it ends up being.
Right. So, Farwah, I've read that there's something quite unique about Oraan. I've heard about the Oraan committees. So, how does it work? Can you tell us?
Absolutely. So couple of things unique about Iran, we're women led and women first. So our target audience is really important. And the second is that we've picked up a very hyper local approach. I mentioned this as I started off, called committees locally, or BCs. And what people do is traditionally, in countries like ours, is pool together money, so sort of peer to peer. And so if imagine there's 10 people, each one puts in about $100,
Mm-hmm.
per month, and one person will take out $1,000 at every month. And so similarly, what we saw is that this is a very it's a norm here, right? So you took that, and we said, okay, if this is a norm, how can we adapt that to modern world?
Mm-hmm.
So all we do is essentially digitize it. And what we provide to people is, you have for sure access to money. So, some people might not have access to that $1,000 within their group of geographical group or people that they know, but we
Mm-hmm.
can provide that. And the other thing is, we say, no, you definitely you are going to get that. A lot of times in these groups, because there's social networks, or something goes wrong, it can become a problem, right? There's
Mm-hmm.
a pro and a con. So we say, hey, no, we get that's our biggest promise. And the third thing being, in a country like Pakistan, financial scoring and credit scores don't exist. And so as people get into this system and learn, and actually start becoming part of our committees, we're building these pay scores. And
Right.
one of the interesting things we found, especially women, is gamified and validation, and hey, having a score is such an important part to her. And that's how she can start increasing her ability and eligibility for more credit or more
Mm-hmm.
other financial products. And that's what we do.
Right. And what about technology? How is it an enabler in achieving everything you just said?
Absolutely. So you come in, you download our app. You do simple things like opening up an account, providing your name, signing up with a phone number, authenticating yourself. As soon as you do, you come in, and then you have the option to choose which kind of group you go into, how much you want to pay in per month, for how many months, 5 or 10 months. And you provide us, documents like, of course, your similar KYC kind of documents, your ID
Mm-hmm.
card, a selfie, and your address and things like that, proof of income. And so based on this, we actually, at the back end, have algorithms, and we are able to provide you this committee within 24 hours.
For our final question, what's next for Oraan? Are you looking to expand beyond Pakistan?
Yes, hopefully in the next year or two, we're looking to expand past Pakistan. At the moment, it's a lot about increasing our product servings. So how does that financial journey? How can we service that financial journey? Everything from more mature products like mutual funds or even different kinds of. One of the interesting things we started doing is educational financing, and being the first ones to really do that in Pakistan as well, as we start off a pilot around that.
Farwah, it was great having this chat with you. Thank you so much for joining us on our show, and hopefully see you in June.
Thank you so much. Very nice meeting you. Thanks for having me.
And don't leave yet, because we will see Farwah again in the Speakeasy at the end of the show. So right now, what's hot lately in the world of startups and innovation? Alexi will join me to tell us more in the Tech Radar. Hi Alexi, welcome back.
Thank you. How are you, Asha?
I'm not too bad. How about you?
I'm fine, thanks. So today, for once, I have nothing to show you because I wanted to bring something in here, but it just doesn't fit because it's a data center, and we've had
a little bit big.
It's right? A little bit big, yeah. So we've had the amazing chance to be invited by Scaleway to visit and have a private tour of the latest DC5 data center, which they claim is the most sustainable in Europe. So we were so intrigued by the invitation, we just had to rush and have a look at it.
Interesting. Let's take a look.
So this looks a bit mysterious because we're actually in the very heart of the latest Scaleway data center, which is called the DC5. And we've been invited because, as you know, I think that 4% of the global carbon emissions are due to digital in the world. And just in France, data centers represent something like 14% of the global country emissions. So it's completely huge. And this data center that we're actually in is said to be one of the most sustainable in Europe. And we've been invited by Scaleway to visit it, so we just had to rush it. So once again, the overall building is using no air conditioning at all, because once again, the air from the outside is coming that way. It's kind of mixed up just underneath my feet there. It's coming back up there. If it's the right temperature and it's not too hot, then it's going right through there. And it's just like a little part of the year when it's really too hot outside, it's using this kind of technologies and some water to basically cool down the air before it goes into the data center. And then if you want to follow me, so it's filtered through there, right? And when it's at the right temperature, it's going through these kind of things that are basically going through the overall data centers, and it's kind of cooling down all the machines. It's actually super chilly, so we're not gonna stay there for very long, but that's actually where the air from the outside is coming in through these kind of filters. It's filtered, and then it goes back to the other room. So here we're almost outside, and this is where the air is coming from the outside. Once again, it's really chilly, we're gonna go really quickly here. And it's going through this kind of sound filters to make sure, and if you see, if you like go, it's really weird because basically it's keeping all the sound inside to make sure that the sound generated by the machines and all this kind of stuff does not go outside. So the air is coming outside and then going to the center. And this is basically the outside of the filter, so the air is coming from the outside through these filters before entering the center. So this is the room where the air is mixed up to basically get to the right temperature. So as you can see here, these little things kind of modulate the air that is coming in and the air that is coming out that way, and it's kind of mixed up. As you can hear, it's a bit noisy in here because this is where kind of the magic happens and where both air from the outside and the inside have kind of mixed up to have the perfect temperature for the servers. So I kind of look like a space engineer, but in this little screen, as they've tried to explain me, you can see that the air outside is at 7 degrees and the air inside that is generated by the servers is approximately 32 degrees. And the idea is that it's kind of mixing to find the perfect temperature for the servers at 24 degrees. So it's only using 33% of the air from the outside and approximately 60% from the air that's generated by the machines. So the idea is that here it's actually really hot because it's basically the heat that's been generated by the machine and the servers. So if it needs to be recycled to like do the little mix up, it's going that way. And if it needs to go out, it's going that way. Sorry for the noise, we're still at the very heart of everything that Scaleway is doing in their data centers. We're actually in a very special place because it's a workshop where they're actually refurbishing their own servers to up to 80% of the components. They're still reusing it to do other servers. And that's super interesting because generally a lifetime of a server is like 3 or 4 or 5 years, something like that. But with this workshop, they managed to get that life expectancy of the servers to up to 10 years or something like that. It's really interesting. This is basically the future of this data center, and they're every day and kind of building this kind of new rooms that we've been saying, and they're basically adding new ones to make even more machines and data centers.
Alex, you seem to have lots of fun there.
Yeah, it was actually pretty surprising and really fun to explore.
Fantastic. Looking forward to more fun innovations next week.
I'll definitely be there. Yeah.
Great. So see you all next week for another show. But if you are a startup watching us today, feel free to apply to all the startup challenges. They are still open. If you're a female entrepreneur, the Female Founder Challenge also is still open. You can apply till tomorrow. I think the deadline is March 18th. So that's it. I will see you, Alexi, next week. And all of you, I leave you now with Farwah in the Speakeasy.
Too many. I'm embarrassed. I'm a night owl. Getting people to think for each other and not be individualistic, I think. More community driven, especially in today's world. Don't worry, life comes around. No matter what you have in plan, it works out. Yeah, that's what I would say. Stop worrying. Office. I like interaction, contact. So yeah. I would love to meet, I think, the head of Monzo. We follow that really, yeah. I'm still old school, so that money. Very difficult. I plan to retire in Spain, hopefully, one day.